Welcome to Apex Philosophy. You will find your motivation here. Be sure to subscribe and listen every day because you become what you consume. Please like and share this video to help inspire others. With that all said and done, let's start with the video. Carl Jungian on integrating your personality. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Quotes such as this allow us to peer into the mind of Carl Jung, but there is more to the man than what seems to be mere poetry. Carl Jung was a renowned Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst that founded modern depth psychology. He was so influential that he even has his own philosophy called Jungian philosophy. But out of all of his relevant contributions to different scientific fields, the most profound, I argue, is his attempt in discovering the true, authentic self of a human being. Indeed, how does one know his true self? How do we know we are being authentic and not just copying what we see in our environment? To answer those questions, we first need to understand the psyche. Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." For him, an individual can be best described through their psyche. A psyche includes both our conscious and unconscious selves. It is something found within each and every one of us. Our own consciousness has an ego, which Carl Jung argued to be the centre of our consciousness. It controls everything. It's how we decide what we want to eat for breakfast. It's how we push through a hard workout. This ego lives in your conscious mind, so it is only part of the story. You see, there are things that we are unconscious of that also reflect our most authentic selves. And this is where the value of the unconscious comes in. It is what we are unaware of, but comprises most of what we truly want, and therefore can tell us more about who we truly are. The unconscious. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. Among the chaos of everyday life, social media, and all our responsibilities and problems, where do we have room for ourselves? The answer lies in the unconscious. Jung proposes that there are in fact two layers of the unconscious: the personal unconsciousness and collective unconsciousness. Let's dive deeper into each one. The personal unconsciousness. Personal unconsciousness refers to everything that you are unaware of. An example of this could be forgotten memories. Do you still remember when you were a toddler, learning how to walk with your chubby little legs? Me neither. It happened a long time ago, and it's impossible for our brain to keep track of everything. Another example could be unclear or unconscious sensations and even buried emotions. Sometimes we are unconscious of something that actually hurts us emotionally, and these emotions become suppressed and later forgotten in the business of life. However, some things come up that upset us. For example, it wasn't the unwashed dishes that upset you, it was the feeling that you had to clean the house on your own. Your spouse didn't help you, and you felt like you were the only one that was making an effort in the relationship. This is how breakdowns start. With something small like dirty dishes. Silly dishes. But could it be that it's a reflection of what's going on inside you? The collective unconsciousness. Another layer of consciousness is collective unconsciousness. This layer is much trickier because it includes those subconscious emotions. All people have or have had certain thoughts, instincts, and other things. These are the traits that all humans share. However, Jung emphasises that these universal mental ideas manifest as archetypes. For example, if you see yourself as the hero of your own story, then you might also find someone to be the corresponding villain. Or you find yourself as the side character or a helper of the hero. But whatever archetype you identify as, know that these are often caused by a generational and cultural urge to adopt various widely accepted behaviours. And so we begin to observe that these archetypes are recurring characters in our lives. Your unconsciousness often comes to the surface through emotions or desires, but unfortunately, many people suppress it. Suppressing the unconsciousness. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. What Carl Jung means by this is that people tend to suppress themselves, and in turn, they pretend to be something they are not. They pretend so much that they even fool themselves into believing that this is who they are. But how do you claim who you are without truly knowing yourself? For Jung, this shouldn't be left to destiny or fate. Instead, it should be a constant search of knowing ourselves. He even remarks that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. For example, if we get annoyed by a colleague's attitude, we tolerate their actions to keep the peace within the workplace. Similarly, as a teen, we cleaned our rooms because we were forced to do it by our mother screaming downstairs. And this isn't to say that you shouldn't clean your room. Instead, it's just an explanation why some people are just not as organised as others. Cleaning a room is now associated with screaming and all the negative emotions that come with that. Rather than having a fun time doing chores, it becomes a burden. Your own feelings are set aside in order to make way for other people's needs and desires. But what if cleaning, or doing chores in general, weren't associated to negative feelings? Wouldn't that make a difference? The process of individuation. As you reflect on these questions, you are taking a peek at what's inside of you, and you are starting the integration process. Your inner layer is the key to your unique, authentic self. This process is called individuation, a method that does not eliminate the unconscious, but instead brings forth a harmonious relationship between all the parts of the psyche. By striking a balance between the unconscious and conscious, you prevent one part from overpowering the other, and this is the secret order that Jung was talking about earlier. According to Carl Jung, you need to face all four of your consciousness components respectively to complete the individuation process. Let's go through them all. The persona. The first component is the persona. Not only is it a complex entity, but it is also a wide range of interactions between your individual consciousness and society. You can compare it to having your own mask, a mask that you wear every day for your whole life. This mask's design is meant, on the one hand, to make a clear impression of yourself upon others, and on the other hand, it keeps your true nature hidden, just like a mask. To elaborate on this, Carl Jung provokes everyone's imagination by equating the persona to a mask being donned as a primary costume component of a performer on stage. The performer says, "Here I am, look at me," all while putting on a facade, the face of a character that he must follow. And through this social mask, we all portray how we want the world to see us. The persona is part of human nature, claims Jung. It's how we form our identity as we grow, since it's the only way we'll fit into society. The persona doesn't consist of only one mask for the performer on stage, incorporating a series of characters. To our family, we might be cold and harsh. To our friends, we might be the fun, wild type. For our lovers, we are caring. Jung further emphasises the idea that our persona is actually needed to be part of our social lives. It's more beneficial to our existence than you think. For example, as a child, you were trying to make friends. However, no one wants to be friends with boys that are feminine. And so you gained this persona of being tough and never showing weakness, such as not crying around other people. In a world that is malevolent, your persona protects you. So, what is your persona like? Tell me about yourself. What mask are you wearing on a daily basis? Comment down below. The shadow. The next component is the shadow. This is the darker side of us that we all have. It isn't as obvious in conscious life. Rather, these are traits or desires that were rejected by society as a whole. Like in the previous example, crying as a weakness is often a common parenting mistake. As ordinary people, we often get annoyed when toddlers have tantrums in restaurants, or when that kid keeps kicking the back of our seats on the plane. Whatever the situation may be, it is not the child that we think about, it's our own feelings or emotions. And so, when this child gets corrected, the common notion would be to reprimand them for crying. We do this without considering if their needs were met in the first place. And now, this child will grow up and put crying into their shadow. Denying your tears does not make them go away. When unaddressed, this may manifest into bigger things, such as not being able to express your emotions properly. Some people have huge breakdowns, while others become violent and use anger to express themselves. These people have been holding back for so long, and all because they were taught that crying is a show of weakness. And so we must not repress our shadows. To put it in Jung's terms, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness. And the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come, along with patience and equanimity. When we acknowledge our insecurities, we can be free from the fear of being judged. It allows a great opportunity for courage. When you recognise the bad, you will be able to know how to turn it into the good. Get to know yourself better, just a little bit more, and you will be able to live life more authentically. Anima and Animus. Oh, but we are not done yet. This is the third component of the whole. Are you ready? In this segment, we'll dive further into our shadows. Do not be afraid, for without darkness, we would never know or appreciate the light. The same goes for your journey. Peer through the shadows, and you'll begin to shed light onto your unconscious. To know ourselves deeper, we must recognise that our shadow selves actually have psychological traits of the other gender, commonly known as contrasexual characteristics. According to Jung, women possess an inner, unique male psyche, or animus. Similarly, you have a personal feminine psyche inside of you as a man, called anima. However, due to cultural context and pressure, each of us was somehow forced to act more within the traits of the superior one. For example, young girls play the mother of the house that takes care of the babies and cleaning the household. Their male counterparts would go out and find work. As we grow older, we tend to overlook the traits of the other. We can't do this or that because it's too feminine or masculine. So that desire is ignored. It is repressed. But it can come back to haunt us. In ancient Greek, the anima and the animus are often associated with eros and logos. Eros is linked to originality, passion, intimacy, and wholeness, while the word logos is related to reason, objectivity, strength, and action. But as you may now know, some of these traits are caged into the anima or the animus. For example, knitting as a form of art is often related to the anima or a womanly trait, and so it might be repressed. Embracing counterpart traits is deemed to be undesirable and even impossible by society. However, our anima or animus is always present, and the more one tries to push them down, the bigger it backfires. Eventually, its desire to manifest becomes too powerful for us to handle. Your feminine or masculine instincts will not just go away. If you deny your anima or animus, it will only distort them into something undesirable. People can get severely depressed or lonely. Others are at the breaking point. And unfortunately, some have done more to harm themselves because of this. In order to prevent these difficulties, it's crucial to learn how to acknowledge and embrace the element of contrasexuality. By balancing our opposing traits, we can achieve harmony within ourselves. Analysing your own actions and vulnerabilities is crucial in order to become conscious of the anima or animus within yourself and become a better you. The self. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. Now we go to the last part of the individuation process. According to Carl Jung, the ego is a part of and originates from the self. He compares the beautiful art of the mandala to the self. The outer layer symbolises the self, and the ego is located in the interior. Just note that the self is concerned with your entire being or psyche, whereas the ego is only concerned with the conscious. It means that the self comprises both the conscious and all that is unconscious. Now, that gives a different perspective to the wholeness in this process. The last and most important step of a successful individuation process is thus being able to explore oneself. Whatever you discover about yourself, insecurities, poor habits, hidden impulses, etc., you must overcome them and not escape them. Instead of shunning or repressing them, you must accept and welcome them. The self is not your enemy. The parts of you are not your enemy. To unite in perfect balance is a constant struggle. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's a process, not a destination. Increasing our consciousness can broaden what the ego can access. This means that we can work on it. We can improve how we react when we act out of character or out of our personas. We can recognise our anima and animus when it surfaces. We can experience life without being lost and confused. So, go discover all of yourself, accept it, and be free. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to comment below and tell us what personas you wear most often. Also, please like the video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.